It's a new year and mortgage rates are well above 7%, and there is no chance that they're going to start dropping until the labor market shows some signs that it's breaking. And as of last week, jobless claims are the lowest they've been in 8 months. So this is still a very strong labor market. All of the data you'll see this week is pretty skewed because of the holidays, but even so, we're starting the year off with 5% more pending sales than last year and 27% more inventory than last year. And all of this increased real estate activity is happening while mortgage rates are still 0.4% higher than they were this time last year. So this is the most solid start we've seen to a year since everything blew up during COVID. Okay, well, Happy New Year to you all. Welcome back. Let's get started. If you're new here, my name is Michael. I'm a real estate agent here in the Dallas area, and every Monday I give you a weekly update covering all of Dallas and Collin counties as well as the national market. We're looking for trends. We're tracking mortgage rates as well as mortgage purchase applications, as that's our best leading indicator to what demand will look like 30 to 90 days from now. We're looking at things like median list price, days on market, how many homes are having price decreases, what's inventory looking like, and if you stick around until the end, it's my favorite part, the top 10 ranked hottest and coolest cities and zip codes in all of Dallas and Collin counties. If this sounds like something you're into, make sure and hit the subscribe button. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, whether it's next week or next year, I'd love to connect. I've helped every one of these yellow dots find their little piece of Texas, and I'd love to help you too. Just call, text, or shoot me an email. All that is in the description below. Okay, today is January 6th. Let's see what the data is telling us. And if this is an old video, you can click the playlist here and it'll take you to the latest weekly market update. Okay, starting with market news, the chart you're looking at here is the jobless claims chart, and this is why rates aren't dropping. So the very last video I made a few weeks ago in December, that was when we had this huge spike up. So we talked about this in the last video, but big spikes like this, as you can see, they're normal all over the chart. And they don't really mean anything to us because all we're looking for is trends. And on this chart specifically, we only care about the 4-week moving average because a job loss recession, if it's going to happen, we're going to see it first here in the jobless claims data. And historically speaking, we won't be in any danger until we have the 4-week moving average over about 320,000. And as of now, the 4-week moving average is only at 223,250. And overall, you can see it's still trending down. And in fact, the last time jobless claims were this low was way back here. What is that? May 1st? That was a long time ago, so this is obviously a sign of a strong labor market. And so far, the Fed has been able to keep rates way up here around and now above 7% with absolutely nothing breaking, and the labor market is just too strong. So if you're someone who wants or is waiting for mortgage rates to start coming down in any meaningful way, unfortunately, that's not going to come until the labor market starts getting softer and jobless claims start going up. So if you're hoping for lower rates, you might be waiting for a while. Now, obviously, things can change very quickly, but as of right now, the data we have is not showing mortgage rates are going to be coming down. And I had a conversation recently with someone who, again, was like, well, but the Fed just cut rates. The Fed's going to cut rates. It doesn't really matter what the Fed does. As you can see, the Fed announced a rate cut and mortgage rates actually went up, because the bond market that more directly impacts mortgage rates doesn't care what the Fed did yesterday. They care what they're going to do 6 months to a year from now. So if they believe rates are going to stay higher for longer, they're going to keep mortgage rates up higher for longer. So I want you to forget what the news is saying the Fed is going to do or the Fed just did or whatever. Really, you just need to be looking at these jobs reports. That's going to show you if the labor market is softening, then the 10-year is going to come down and then mortgage rates will come down. And then you also have to be watching inflation, because that's the other downside to this, is if rates do start falling, then inflation has a chance of going back up. If inflation does go back up, that also is going to mean rates higher for longer. So forget what the news is saying about the Fed. You just have to look at the jobs reports and inflation. And then I also just want you guys to know what I'm seeing here in the local market. I talked about this a little bit last year, but basically a week or two after the elections happened, there was a significant increase in the number of people reaching out to buy homes. And even now, like within the last week, so many people have reached out, which is very unusual for the first week of January. So I'm telling you, what I'm feeling here is demand is definitely increasing, even with these high mortgage rates. So I had a conversation earlier with someone this week. They have a chance to buy a house now, but they decided they want to wait and just see what happens over the next few months. I will just tell you all, that has been a losing strategy for literally everyone who has tried it for the last many, many years. Housing continues to get less affordable. So if you're thinking I'm going to sit on the sidelines and see what happens in the next few months, so far it looks like what happened is demand is going to increase even with rates way up here at 7%. And if demand looks like it's growing with rates here, what do you think is is going to happen when rates actually do get down closer to 6%. There are going to be way more buyers entering the market, driving prices up. And lastly, even though rates are up around 7.1% right now, there are still a ton of killer deals on new construction in the suburbs. I'm talking about mortgage rates as low as 3.99%. Plus they pay all of your closing costs. And right now, a lot of them are still giving the fridge, the washer, the dryer, garage door opener, blinds, all of those things. And a lot of these homes you can get into with just $12,000 to $14,000 cash, and your monthly payment is going to be around $2,600 a month for, a 4-bed, 2-bath, somewhere around 1,800 square feet. And if you don't follow me on Instagram yet, that's where I post all of these deals, because it's so much easier for me to go take a quick walkthrough video, post all the stats, give you the rate, give you the monthly payment. I can do that very easily on Instagram. And in fact, I'm posting at least, I think, like 1 video a day. So if you want to know where all the best deals are and where the biggest incentives are in real time, the best thing to do is follow my Instagram. It's at Bear Coast Real Estate. That's the name of my brokerage. But yeah, basically I'm out every day looking at different communities for buyers. And when I find deals, I'll just take a video and I'll post them there. Okay, moving on. Let's start with national housing inventory. This week we had a decrease of 15,000, and these, you're going to be looking at the left now on these charts, decrease of 15,560 less homes for sale in the country. This keeps us right at that 27% more inventory than we had last year, which is exactly the same percentage when I last reported this a couple of weeks ago. So the pace at which inventory has been dropping has stayed consistent. We have 27% more for the last several weeks. But that gets us to a total of 635,432 homes available for sale in the country. For reference, this same week last year, inventory was only at 499,143. So still much better than last year. And inventory is, like I said, it's just been declining seasonally at about the same pace as the last few years. So nothing unusual there. Then for reference, the all-time inventory bottom here in 2022, we only had 240,000 homes for sale. The peak of last year, we had 740,000 homes for sale, so we've come a long way. And this same week in 2015, just for reference, we had about 959,000 homes for sale. And you can see even here in 2019, we were well above 800,000. So all that to say, we're getting a little closer every year to a normal market. Now let's look at new listings. So we are way down here this week, and before you panic, I just want to say, as we learned last year, see on this Thanksgiving week, it's reporting a week later than it used to, and I think this has to do with which day of the week this data is collected. But basically, at some point, everything shifted to the right 1 week. So if you take this red dot and you shift it back to the left, that was actually here, and then these 2 new weeks would actually be this week and this week, which means if you were to move this line over here, it would look totally normal. We would be about where we were at 2022. But either way, holiday data is always extremely unreliable. But just, I want you to picture this as if those 2 dots right here were actually right here. And then we're going to be starting off the next year. I'm sure it's going to be up somewhere around here once we get next week's data. But last week we only had 18,484 homes listed, which is less than the previous 2 years. Again, that's not something to panic about. We only look for trends, and as you can see, we were consistently, finally, once rates dropped back in October, we were having more new listings every single week than we've had either of the previous 2 years. We were consistently above that. And I would expect that's going to continue this year, or at least I would hope that's going to continue this year. If we want inventory to keep growing, we're going to need new listings to keep growing. Now looking at pending sales, once again, back in October when rates were dropping nicely, we finally broke out about above that 2022 line. For a lot of the end of the year, we were, 10 to 15% more pending sales than either of the previous 2 years. But again, it's holidays, everything gets a lot tighter in December and January, and as of now, we still have 5% more single-family homes under contract than we did last year, to a total of 260,329 homes under contract. That's where we are starting this year. So home sales are definitely growing, even with rates way up here above 7% again. But overall, as you can see on this chart, this is going to be the bottom of the market, and things are going to start trending up very soon. Then the last thing we cover nationally is the percentage of homes having a price decrease. Every year it's normal for a third of homes to take a price cut before selling, and looking at the national chart, we are starting the year with 34.9% of homes taking a price cut this week. That's right between the previous 2 years. And last year we got as high as 39.9. The year before we got as high as 39.2. So those two actually are very close in their peaks. And then of course 2022, which was absolutely crazy, and we only had 240,000 homes for sale. There were no homes taking price cuts. And then when rates started shooting up like crazy, it got all the way up to 43.2%. But I would say that 2022 line is not really relevant anymore. We have 23 and 24, which were much closer to this year's market. So these are the peaks we're gonna be watching. They were pretty consistent. They were both under 40, 39.2 and 39.9. So that's what we're gonna watch for this year. And just know, if you're someone who wants home prices to come down, then you would need this number of price cuts to be higher than either of the previous 2 years, because we didn't see any significant drops in these years. Okay, now we're moving on to mortgage rates. What was a week ago? We're on January 6th, so I guess it would be about the 31st. Let's say the 30th. We started at 7.06 and we stayed at 7.07 over the holidays, and then we shot way up to 7.1. That's where we were. And now moving on to mortgage rates. Let's see what happened last week. So let's see, let's start at the 30th, 7.06, and we went up to 7.1 on the 3rd. So let's take a look at the 10-year and see if we can figure out what's going to happen today. Okay, so this is the 10-year. This is what mortgage rates will most closely follow, and it's not looking good. It's trying to climb again, which means mortgage rates. So if our last close, what did I say our last close was? Okay, so our last close down here, that was a 7.1, and you can see we've already opened up and we're going higher, which means if we close this way and if we hold here until the afternoon, then rates are for sure going to be higher than a 7.1 unless the spreads improve, but I'm not getting into that today. Just know this is not what you want to see, but another way to look at it is it's taking another shot at this peak. It could get rejected and it could come down, but today's rates are probably going to be higher than they were last week. And then looking at mortgage purchase applications, which is my favorite leading indicator to what demand will look like. And it's 30 to 90 days out, because it's not that everyone gets approved and then buys a house that week, because that would be a 30-day close. So we give some room for people. Maybe they want to look for 30, 60 days before they contract and then a 30-day close. But just look at what happened at the end of the year, those last few weeks. I mean, that's well above 2023's demand. And again, that's what I'm experiencing here in real time. Is ever since the election, there's just been a lot more demand. A lot more people are applying for mortgages. And again, that's with mortgage rates up at 7.1%. Today, they'll probably be even higher. But if you look over here, 2025, this is the current numbers. But again, this is a holiday weeks. The least reliable data you'll get all year is the last 2 weeks of the year. So don't pay attention to this. We're going to see next week where we land. So what I'm trying to say is we've definitely been experiencing an increase in demand, but also I've been saying it for more than a year now. There's no reason to believe mortgage demand is going to grow significantly with rates anywhere near this high. The real demand is going to come in once rates get and stay below 6% for a sustained period of time, which is why you still see a ton of new construction offering anywhere between 3.99 to 5.99% rates, because that's what's bringing buyers in and making it affordable for them. And my question to you is, if you see demand growing like this with rates at 7.1%, what do you think demand is going to look like? How many people are going to be applying for mortgages when rates actually do get down near 6%? It's going to be way more than this, which means there's going to be a ton of buyers out looking for houses and driving prices up when that finally happens. So I'm just telling you, you do not actually want to wait until rates drop to buy. You are much better off buying when rates are higher, taking advantage of the lower price, and then refinancing to the lower rate when it finally happens. And this doesn't mean you have to stretch out of your price range. You just have to find the monthly payment that you can afford and buy whatever that will get you. And then 6 months to a year from now, whenever you get to refinance, your monthly payment is going to be hundreds of dollars a month lower. But you will have already locked in the price, which is the more important number. Okay, now we're going to zoom in on the local markets, and we're going to be starting with the MLS data of Dallas County. And I finally started making a very rough spreadsheet for this so you can see more accurately what it means each week when it goes up or down 30 to 50 houses. And eventually there's going to be a chart and everything. It's a work in progress. I ran out of time. Actually, to be honest, I totally forgot I had even started this, but I'm just going to start inputting the numbers. Eventually I'm going to make the chart look good. But right now, what happened in Dallas County last week? We had 384 new listings. I'm not doing the change from last week since I didn't track it. I'm just starting fresh this year. This is 2025's numbers. We start We are starting out with 384 new listings this week. We had 222 closings. 33 of those closings were immediate sales, meaning they contracted within the first week. We had 183 new contracts this week. And in total, either under contract or pending, we have 1,662 homes. Then scrolling down to Collin County, they had 235 new listings this week, 203 closings. 24 of those were immediate sales. Again, that means they contracted within the first week. We had 115 new contracts, and in total, there are 1,292 homes either under contract or pending. So that's our baseline for the year. Now let's move on to the Market Action Index, starting with Dallas County. All the Market Action Index is, it takes all of this data, puts it into one easy to read graphic with a number. Anything a 20 or below means we're a buyer's market. Anything above a 30, we're asking how much of a seller's market are we in. All we use this for is to see are things looking normal or things looking weird. It's just a quick overview of these counties. So you can see at the end of the year, the Market Action Index started heating up. Last week, it did tick down a little bit, but again, this is just another way of showing you that at the end of the year, more people are coming out and buying homes. Things were starting to heat up. Now, this was obviously Christmas and New Year's, so everything dipped this week. We'll see what happens next week. And it may not recover immediately next week. It may take a couple of weeks, but I would expect that this is going to start climbing again. And then consistent with what is normal, the median list price got to the very bottom those very last few weeks, as there are the fewest buyers out, typically the last week of the year with all the holidays. So the prices followed that, both median list and price of new listings, although, yeah, they both hit their lowest on those weeks. That's normal. Average days on market is continuing to climb. That's normal in the winter as well. Median jumped up a few weeks ago to 77. Number of homes having a price decrease, however, is dropping. So, and it's actually dropping pretty fast from 46 down to 42. So that would suggest prices are not going to be dropping further. That would suggest we've seen the bottom. Now less people are doing price cuts. Things are starting to turn around. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's what this is showing as well. Inventory, of course, has been declining. I would expect that to start picking up soon. But yeah, overall, everything in Dallas County looks normal. And it looks consistent with all the other data we've seen. So let's look at Collin County. So Collin County actually took a big hit at the beginning of November, but it was also starting at the end of December to heat up a little bit. I mean, these are small changes. I don't know if heat up is the right word, but it definitely stopped cooling off. And then the same as Dallas County, last week we obviously had a tick down as everyone was out entirely for the holidays. Their prices, consistent with what happens at the end of the year, they were dropping, though the median price of new listings is still higher than its bottom, which was a few weeks ago. But overall, the trend has been down through the winter, so that's normal. Their average days on market as well climbing. Their median, the same as Dallas, up at 77, just jumped up this week. But again, those things are normal. Real estate activity goes way, way down at the end of the year, and then it starts to pick up here January, February. And theirs as well. The number of homes having price decreases is trending down as well, which would suggest prices are finding a bottom. Again, if you want prices to continue down, more and more people would need to be cutting their prices. Inventory is dropping, that's normal. Market Action Index, again, it looks to have already found its bottom in December. So overall, everything is looking pretty normal in both counties. There are 35, slight seller's advantage. And now let's move on. Now we're looking at our top 10 ranked hottest and coolest cities and zip codes in all of Dallas and Collin counties. So this is just going to be our baseline for the year. And these are ranked using that same Market Action Index number we just looked at. So starting with the absolute hottest cities, and these are just going to be our baseline for the year. So the hottest city to start out the year is Carrollton, Texas, which it's been number one for a while, but it's only a 44.82. It's not insanely hot, but remember 30 or above is a seller's market. And you have to remember, during COVID, these things got up to 100. So 44.82 is still a seller's market, but it's not a crazy hot seller's market. So number one is Carrollton, Texas. Number two, Coppell. Number three, Richardson, Texas. 4, Grand Prairie. 5 is Balch Springs. 6 is Louisville. 7 is Plano. 8 is Ferris. 9 is Seagoville. And 10 is Princeton. So in order to make the top 10, you've got to be above a 39.51 right now. And then we like to zoom into the hottest zip codes. The absolute hottest is Grand Prairie, 75051, and that's at a 47.55, followed by Carrollton, 75007, Plano, 75093, Richardson, 75081, Grand Prairie 75050, Coppell 75019, Grand Prairie 75052, Carrollton 75010, Carrollton 75006, and Plano 75025. So if you have a house in either of these cities or zip codes, then that means you can sell for top dollar. Now moving on, doing the same thing but for the coolest cities and zip codes if you're looking for a deal. And I want you to notice anything above Anna, these are all officially buyer's markets. So starting with the absolute coolest city is Blue Ridge at a 24.96, followed by Leonard, then Sunnyvale, then Van Alstyne, then Anna. So those are the top 5. Those are officially buyer's markets. Then number 6 is Lavon, 7 is Rockwall, 8 is Red Oak, 9 is Royce City, and number 10 is Salina. Then looking at the specific zip codes, the absolute coolest is Blue Ridge 75424, Leonard 75452, Dallas 75219, Sunnyvale 75182, Van Alstyne 75495, Anna 75409, Rockwall 75032, Dallas 75235, Lavon 75166, and Red Oak 75154. Remember, if you're looking to buy or sell or know anyone who is, I would love your referral. I would love to take great care of them. Just call, text, or shoot me an email. All that info is in the description below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.